Welcome back to SEO Fundamentals for Small Business Owners. In our last video, we looked at some of the basic things you needed to know about SEO. And today we're going to look at on-page SEO specifically. So what is on-page SEO? Well, this is, strictly speaking, everything that goes into creating a page on your website. So this includes the title tags, meta descriptions, header tags, purposeful URL usage, internal links and external links to help boost your authority, your image alt text, and general content optimization. Now that is quite the list, so let's start diving into what each of these elements are. Your title is usually added on the back end, and it's going to appear up at the top of the tab when someone is viewing your website. This is a great place to add a couple of words of description about your page and even drop in some keywords if they fit organically. But make sure you keep this to a maximum of 60 characters. If it gets beyond that, it will be cut off on Google and they will feel that this may be due to issues with legitimacy. Then you've got your meta description. This is the text that appears when somebody searches in Google. You have your title tag, and then underneath that is that little bit of blurb that tells people what to expect when they land. And again, you want this to be genuinely informative for both the audience and Google, but make sure you don't go overboard. So do make sure that you mention exactly what it is people are going to find. People often forget that you need to be mentioning what you're selling specifically, because when it's taken outside of the context of your whole website, it needs to make sense. Then you have your header tags. Now, these are put in as you're formatting your page, and they are really important. It helps Google to understand the structure of your page, and it also helps to break it into more usable chunks for readers. You want a single H1 header on your page. This is to let Google know this is the entire purpose of this page. This is the main thing to rank it for. But then you want to make sure that you're breaking up the rest of your text with H2 and H3 headers, just so that there is a nice flow and plenty of separate paragraphs. Your URL. Again, this is a bit of a balancing act, but it is very important to have a URL that makes sense for your business. You can absolutely be a bit creative with this. For example, we have pages that are cyberprarmy.com/website design NB. This is perfectly acceptable. The page is about website design services, and we are based in New Brunswick. This helps to amplify the local element, and at the same time, it is providing value to search engine algorithms who are trying to understand what the page is about. Internal and external linking is recommended on every page. Having an internal link helps Google to understand how the pages relate to each other. And having external links helps to boost authority and show that you are referencing valuable sources. Of course, this only works if you're linking to external sources that are of high value. If you externally link to a lot of spam websites, for example, this is going to drag your reputation down with Google. So absolutely use external links when appropriate, but make sure they are for high quality sites. Your image alt text is something that is so often overlooked. But if you are on Wix or WordPress or anything like this, when you click in your library of images, you'll see an option to add alt text or an alt description. This is really important for accessibility. People who have vision issues, for example, may use a screen reader which will read this text in place of the image. And that means this has to be useful. Don't be tempted to just stuff a load of keywords in there, because while it may add to the keywords on a temporary basis, it will drag down your SEO position due to accessibility issues. So where does that leave us? Well, be creative in adding descriptions. What does your image portray? And how can that be linked to your keywords? And finally, content optimization. What can we do to make that actual content work for you? Content should be an appropriate length. You may have heard previously that long articles were better for SEO, and that certainly has an element of truth to it. But nobody wants to read a 5,000-word essay on how to tie a tie. Your content should be the appropriate length for the thing that you are trying to communicate. It also, above all else, needs to be of a high quality, unique, and useful to your audience. And yes, I'm afraid this does mean you cannot use ChatGPT or a similar tool to create blogs for you. Unfortunately, using AI tools is likely to lead to poorer quality content. It will likely be far less unique to other articles out there. And in some cases, it may miss the mark entirely and just not be useful to your audience. Make sure everything you create has a clear intent and that you manage to get that across in an appropriate length. Your chosen keyword should be included in your URL, title tag, meta description, alt text, H1 header, H2 and 3 headers, and 2 or 3 times in the text. It seems like a lot, and in the olden days it was. That's how we ended up with web pages that repeated the same clumsy phrase over and over. Thankfully, Google is smarter than you think. Make sure you're writing in a natural way, and you are perfectly okay to use synonyms of your keywords. Unfortunately, not all SEO tools are quite as smart as Google, certainly not on the free plans. This may mean that if you're using the free version of Yoast, for example, that it starts shouting at you because you haven't got it in there enough, and that's because it can't pick up the synonyms. Trust your gut. Make sure it sounds natural, and know that Google will be able to pick up those synonyms. That's the end of our look at on-page SEO. I'll see you in the next one.